the betrayal that changed everything. The Galactic Empire had always ruled the galaxy with an iron fist, and it seemed nothing could challenge their power. They had crushed rebellions, silenced resistance, and ensured their dominance over the known universe. The leaders of the Empire believed that Earth, just a small, isolated planet, was no threat to them. Humans were simply too weak to rise up against the might of the Empire. But they were wrong. They didn't see it coming. It all started when the Empire decided to make a move against Earth. They were already controlling so many systems. So why not add one more? Earth had always been left alone, its people content with their peaceful ways. The Empire saw this as an opportunity to conquer Earth, believing that they could easily suppress any resistance the humans might put up. They didn't consider that the humans had been preparing for this moment, quietly in the shadows. One fateful day, the Empire launched their attack. Massive ships filled the sky above Earth, blocking out the sun. The humans were caught by surprise. They had no warning, no time to prepare. The Empire's fleet descended with overwhelming force, and humanity's small fleet was no match for them. It didn't take long for the Empire to destroy Earth's defenses, crushing the human resistance in the process. But the Empire made a huge mistake. Instead of killing every human or wiping out their forces completely, they left a small group of Earth survivors alive. They sent them to distant colonies, far from the heart of the Empire. Thinking that they would be insignificant to the Empire, the war was over. They thought Earth was beaten. They had no idea what was coming next. As the survivors of Earth regrouped in the distant corners of the galaxy, they were filled with anger and a burning desire for revenge. They had been betrayed by the Empire. They had lost their homes, their families, and their way of life. But they weren't done, not yet. The humans had a strength the Empire didn't understand. They had something far more dangerous than advanced technology. They had hope. And that hope was a force that could move mountains. Commander Carter, one of the highest-ranking officers among the survivors, looked out over the vast expanse of space. His ship, the Genesis, was a beacon of hope to all the humans who had been scattered across the galaxy. They had been planning for years, quietly building a force that would rise up against the Empire, taking back everything they had lost. The Genesis was their symbol of resistance, their weapon, their rallying point. "We're ready, Sophia," the ship's tactical officer said as she approached Carter. She had been with him from the beginning, leading their forces in the shadows, planning every move with precision. But even she couldn't deny the weight of what was about to happen. "The Empire thinks they've won, but they've underestimated us." Carter turned to face her, his expression grim but determined. "They've made a mistake, Sophia, a huge one. They thought they could break us, but humanity never forgets. They think they've crushed us, but they've only given us a reason to fight harder. This isn't just about survival anymore. This is about revenge." Sophia nodded. She had seen the anger in the eyes of their people. They were ready. They weren't just going to defend themselves, they were going to take the fight to the Empire, one planet at a time. They had already begun preparing for their first strike, and nothing was going to stop them. Meanwhile, back at the heart of the Empire, General Kor, one of the highest military officers in the Empire, sat in his command center, reviewing the reports. He had watched the destruction of Earth with satisfaction. The humans had put up a fight, but they were no match for the Empire. It was a simple operation, and it was over quickly. Or so he thought. Now, as he read the reports, something was nagging at the back of his mind. The humans weren't as easily defeated as he had believed. Some of them had survived the attack and had gone into hiding, but General Kor dismissed it. He didn't think they were a threat anymore. The rebellion had been crushed. Earth was finished. At least, that's what he thought. The humans, hidden in the shadows, were making their move. Slowly but surely, they had been gathering forces, making plans and strengthening their resolve. They had learned from their first defeat. They had been betrayed. But they weren't going to let that define them. Instead, they would use it to fuel their fight. They were ready to show the Empire that they weren't just a small, insignificant species. Humanity's first strike was subtle but powerful. They attacked one of the Empire's weak points, a small, remote planet that the Empire had overlooked. It was an easy target. But to the Empire, it was nothing. A few lost ships, a few resources, no big deal. But the humans had made their mark. The message was clear: we are coming. Carter watched the transmission from their first successful attack and smiled. It was only a small victory, but it was enough to send a message. The real fight was about to begin. "We've got their attention," Carter said, turning to Sophia. "Now we make sure they never forget who we are." The battle for the galaxy was about to change. The humans had been betrayed, but they had found a way to rise again with their first strike. They had sent a message to the Empire that they could no longer ignore. They weren't finished. They weren't defeated, and they weren't backing down. Humanity was ready to take back what had been stolen from them, planet by planet, one battle at a time. And the Empire would soon learn that underestimating humanity was the biggest mistake they had ever made. The first struck a surprise. Attacked dark expanse of space had always felt endless, but for the survivors of Earth, the vastness now felt like a trap. Humanity had been left scattered across distant corners of the galaxy, each person filled with a quiet rage, longing to reclaim what was lost. Their first step was simple: a small attack. A quiet message to the Empire: "We are still here, Commander." Carter stood at the helm of the Genesis, watching as the coordinates of their first target appeared on the ship's holographic map. It was a small, seemingly insignificant planet, one the Empire had long forgotten. The Empire's arrogance had left it vulnerable. They thought they controlled everything. They thought no one could challenge them. And they were about to find out how wrong they were. "Captain," Sophia said, her voice sharp and focused, "we're on course. The enemy doesn't expect us. But we can't waste time. The Empire will notice this strike. We need to hit them hard and fast." Carter nodded, his face grim but determined. This isn't just about a single victory. It's about sending a message. Earth's rebellion isn't over. We are coming for everything they've taken. The hum of the Genesis was steady, almost comforting. The ship had been silent for so long, a weapon waiting for its moment. Now, that moment had come. As Carter gazed out at the planet ahead, he could feel the weight of every person's hopes and fears resting on this first attack. It wasn't just a fight for survival, it was a fight for the future of Earth. The strike was executed with surgical precision. The humans didn't just attack blindly, they had planned every detail. Anticipating the Empire's response, the small fleet of ships, hidden in the shadows of asteroids and nebulas, swooped in at breakneck speed, launching waves of calculated blasts at key Empire supply stations. Scattered across the planet's surface, the Empire's defenses were unprepared. The surprise and speed of the attack left them scrambling to respond, their forces scattered, their communication lines a jumbled mess. For once, the Empire wasn't in control. The humans had taken the first step, and they were showing no mercy. "Commander, their supply depots are being destroyed," one of the officers reported, her fingers flying across the console. "We've hit them where it hurts. Their ability to reinforce the area has been severely crippled." Carter allowed himself a small smile, but the battle was far from over. "Hold your positions," he ordered. "Don't give them a chance to regroup. We're sending a message they'll never forget." Back on the Empire's flagship, General Kor stood before a vast array of tactical displays, watching the chaos unfold across his screen. His face was a mask of confusion and anger. The small planet was under attack. But it wasn't just a random raid, it was part of something much larger. The humans had been quiet for years, building strength in secret, and now they were hitting the Empire where it counted. "General, we're losing control of the situation," Captain Vera said, her voice strained with frustration. "We've lost contact with the defense stations. Their systems are shutting down one by one." Kor clenched his fists, his mind racing. How had they not anticipated this? The humans were clever, far more resourceful than he had given them credit for. He thought they were finished. But now he realized just how wrong he had been. "Deploy the reinforcements," Kor ordered, his voice cold with fury. "This small strike will be their last. We'll show them what happens when they dare challenge the Empire." Meanwhile, as the human fleet continued to press forward, Carter watched the chaos from the command center of the Genesis. The initial success was thrilling, but it was only a fraction of the Empire's power. They had to hit harder, they had to keep the pressure on. But as the human fleet moved through the battlefield, Carter felt a growing unease. This wasn't enough. The Empire's response would be swift, and they were already moving their forces into place to retaliate. "Captain, we've done enough damage," Sophia said, her voice steady. "But the Empire is already mobilizing their ships. We need to pull back before they overwhelm us." Carter shook his head. "We can't stop now. The Empire won't expect us to strike again so quickly. If we pull back now, they'll just regroup. We push forward." Sophia hesitated for a moment, but then nodded. "Understood. We press on." The humans struck again, harder than before, as the Empire's reinforcements moved toward the planet. The Genesis and its fleet launched a second, unexpected wave of attacks. This time, they didn't just hit the Empire's forces, they annihilated them. The Empire's fleets were scattered, their ships torn apart by the precision of humanity's firepower from the outside. It may have seemed like a victory was in sight, but Carter knew this wasn't just about attacking the Empire's fleets. This was about showing them the true strength of humanity. It wasn't about the size of the fleet or the power of the weapons. It was about the unyielding resolve to take back what was lost. Earth would never be a pawn again. The attack on the small planet had been a success, but as Carter watched the Empire's response, he knew that the real fight was just beginning. The Empire had been caught off guard, but they were far from defeated. Carter turned to his crew. his voice unwavering. "This is just the beginning," he said. The weight of their mission pressing down on him. "The Empire is about to come for us. With everything they've got, but we'll be ready. This is our galaxy now. We've only just begun to take it back." Asterisk an unexpected ally. The outer systems joined the aftermath of the successful strike. On the Empire's supply chain left the Genesis and its fleet in a precarious position. Although humanity had managed to deal a significant blow to the Empire, Commander Carter knew that the fight was far from over. The Empire had a vast network, with fleets positioned across the galaxy, and they would regroup quickly if humanity was to have any chance of turning the tide. They would need more than just strategic strikes. They needed allies. For years, Earth had been isolated and the outer systems had been oppressed by the Empire. These systems, distant from the core of the Empire, had long suffered under the Empire's boot. Their resources drained and their people exploited, but despite their silence, their discontent had been building, and now humanity's rise was their signal to act. It began with a quiet message intercepted by the Genesis's intelligence team. It was a coded transmission, originating from a distant star system on the outer rim of the galaxy. Carter read the message, his heart pounding. It was an offer of alliance, the first of many. "They want to fight with us," Sophia said, her eyes wide with disbelief as she read the message. "They're offering their support, but they're asking for one thing in return: leadership. They want humanity to lead the charge." Carter's fingers tightened around the edge of his chair. The stakes were growing. The Empire would have never anticipated this. The outer systems were desperate for a leader, someone who would finally challenge the Empire and give them the strength to fight back. And now they were looking to Earth not just for hope, but for leadership. "They want to join us," Carter said, looking up from the message. "They've seen what we're capable of, but we can't lead them unless we show them we can do more than just strike small planets. We need to show them we're capable of taking the fight to the Empire's core." As the news spread across the fleet, Carter gathered his senior officers in the war room. The mood was one of quiet excitement, mixed with the heavy weight of responsibility. Allies were now on the table, but they weren't just looking for military strength. They were looking for guidance, for a future where they no longer had to live under the Empire's rule. "Commander," Lieutenant Vargas said, his voice calm but filled with urgency, "we can't wait too long. If we hesitate, the Empire will crush this budding alliance before it grows. But if we make the wrong move, we could lose them." Carter nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. The time for small-scale attacks was over. They needed to strike at the heart of the Empire, show their new allies that humanity could do more than just harass the Empire from the shadows. They needed to prove that they were capable of leading a galaxy-wide revolt. "We strike next at one of their key strongholds," Carter said decisively. "It's time we show the galaxy that humanity doesn't just fight to survive, we fight to lead." Asterisk the message was sent. The outer systems, from mining colonies to oppressed agricultural planets, all began to mobilize under Earth's banner. Humanity's ships joined with their new allies, forming a fleet stronger than anyone had expected. This wasn't just a small rebellion anymore, it was an army. And as they prepared to launch their next attack, a message was broadcast to every corner of the galaxy. The Empire thought they had crushed humanity. They thought we were nothing more than a small resistance, a passing annoyance. But now, we stand together, planets united under one cause. The Empire will learn what happens when you betray us. The broadcast echoed across the galaxy, from the core to the outer rim, igniting hope in places that had long been forgotten. The outer systems, once silent in their oppression, now rose with a collective voice, joining Earth's cause in a rebellion unlike anything the Empire had seen. Meanwhile, in the heart of the Empire, General Kor stood at the command center of his flagship, staring at the screen in disbelief. The outer systems had joined humanity. The galaxy's most distant planets, the ones the Empire had ignored, had come together in defiance. This wasn't just a rebellion anymore, it was an uprising, a united front against everything the Empire had built. "General," Captain Vera said, her voice filled with shock, This changes everything. The outer systems, they're not just supporting the humans, they've rallied under their leadership. The message has spread across the galaxy. The rebellion isn't just Earth anymore." Kor's mind raced. He had underestimated them. He had thought that humanity would fade into obscurity after their first failed attempt. But now the situation was spiraling out of control. "This can't be allowed," he muttered, his voice cold with fury. "We cannot let this alliance grow. The humans think they have the upper hand, but they're still weak. They still have no idea what they're truly up against." He turned sharply to his officers. "Prepare our forces. We'll hit the outer systems first. We'll show them that the Empire does not tolerate defiance. We'll crush this rebellion before it can even get started." But even as Kor gave the orders, He couldn't shake the feeling that humanity's alliance was something the Empire had never faced. Before, it was no longer just about planets or fleets, it was about the heart of the galaxy. Humanity was no longer fighting for survival. They were fighting for control. As the new alliance gathered strength, Carter and his crew moved forward with their plan. The next strike would be the largest, yet a direct hit at one of the Empire's most fortified strongholds. The outer systems were ready. Earth's fleet was prepared, and now, humanity had to prove they could lead, not just fight, on the Genesis. Carter looked out at the stars, the weight of their mission pressing down on him. "We've come this far," he said, his voice steady, "but now we have to finish it, for Earth. For every system that's joined us, and for every world that still lives in the shadow of the Empire." The Empire strikes back, a desperate response. The air on the Genesis felt charged with anticipation, as humanity's newly formed alliance prepared for the next strike. The success of their first moves had given them momentum, and the morale of the outer systems had never been higher. For the first time, the galaxy seemed to belong to them. But in the shadows of the Empire, General Kor's wrath was growing. "I'll give them one last chance," Kor muttered, standing in front of a massive holographic map of the galaxy, his finger tracing the outline of Earth's growing territory. "One last chance to surrender before I make them regret defying us." His officers watched in silence as his anger mounted. The Empire, once untouchable, was now facing a united front of worlds, and their carefully crafted order was beginning to crumble. The outer systems had rallied behind humanity, and the thought of losing more of their empire was unbearable. For the first time in his career, Kor felt fear, and he hated it. "Send the message to the fleet," he barked. "We don't negotiate with rebels, we don't show mercy. Humanity and its allies must be crushed completely. No more delays." The Empire was on the move, ready to take everything back with overwhelming force. Kor knew the outer systems would be the first to fall. There were too many scattered rebellions, too many planets joining Earth's cause. They needed to be silenced before they could gain any more power on the Genesis. The mood had shifted, the crew was prepared, but they knew the enemy would be coming harder this time. The first strike had rattled the Empire, but this time they were sending their elite forces, their deadliest ships, and their most experienced commanders. "We're up against everything the Empire has left," Carter said, pacing in front of the command table. "We've made progress, but this will be the real test. They won't hold back." Sophia, the ship's tactical officer, studied the map, her brow furrowed. "Their reinforcements are massive. If we fight them head-on, we'll be overwhelmed. We need a strategy to hit them fast, hit them hard, and avoid their main fleets." Carter nodded, his eyes narrowing. "We use the Empire's arrogance against them. They believe we can't win without facing them directly. We'll show them that we're more than just a nuisance. We'll take their most critical resources, and we'll do it where they least expect it." The night before the planned strike, Carter sat alone in his quarters, reflecting on the long road ahead. The war wasn't just about revenge anymore, it was about freedom, about showing every corner of the galaxy that the Empire could be toppled. Humanity had come so far, but the hardest part was still to come. As he looked out the window into the vastness of space, Carter's mind wandered back to Earth, the home that had been lost, the family and friends who had fallen to the Empire's cruelty. The entire planet had been left to burn, a memory of what was once lost. "We're going to make them pay," he whispered to himself, the weight of his words carrying the promise of vengeance. He knew the battle ahead would be brutal, but the idea of Earth's future free from the tyranny of the Empire drove him forward. The following morning, the fleet was ready. They had trained, planned, and prepared for this moment, and now the time had come. The Empire's forces were closing in, their massive warships slowly making their way toward the outer systems. Their objective clear: wipe out humanity and crush their resistance. They had no idea what was about to hit them. "Set course for the Empire's supply hub," Carter commanded. "We're striking at the heart of their resources. The moment we hit them, they'll have no choice but to respond." Sophia turned to him with a determined expression. "We'll hit them where it hurts, but they won't go down without a fight." The fleet moved quickly, slipping past Empire patrols and navigating through the asteroid fields, staying out of the Empire's radar range as long as possible. The entire operation relied on surprise. If they were detected too early, the Empire would retaliate with everything they had. The attack began as soon as the fleet reached the Empire's supply hub. The target was a heavily fortified planet, home to the Empire's most important resources: fuel, ammunition, and troops. Without it, the Empire's war machine would grind to a halt. Humanity's ships moved swiftly, launching a series of devastating energy strikes on the planetary defenses. The planet's outer shield flared and cracked under the relentless barrage, unable to withstand the firepower. Within minutes, the ground shook and the Empire's defenses crumbled. They didn't expect this. Sophia muttered as the enemy's supply hub began to fall apart before their eyes. Their reinforcements are too far away, they won't be able to stop us. Carter's gaze never wavered from the screen. We've made our mark. Now we hold the line until reinforcements arrive. We can't give them the chance to regroup. Back at the heart of the Empire, General Kor was left seething in frustration. His intelligence officers had failed, the humans had taken the supply hub with ease, and now the Empire was scrambling to retake it. Reinforcements were on their way, but it was already clear that they had underestimated humanity's speed and precision. Prepare the fleet, we will not let them succeed, Kor hissed, fury burning in his chest. This ends now. As the Genesis and its fleet held their position, the incoming Empire reinforcements began to arrive, but it was already too late. The damage had been done. The humans had taken what the Empire could not afford to lose. The rebellion had proven it could strike at the heart of the Empire and survive. Humanity was no longer just a small resistance. They were a force to be reckoned with, and as Carter watched the aftermath unfold, he knew that this wasn't the end, this was just the beginning of the revolution. The Empire had been shaken, and it wouldn't be long before they realized the true extent of humanity's strength. Hidden power. Humanity's ultimate weapon battle for the galaxy had reached a critical turning point. The Genesis and its growing fleet of human ships had dealt another devastating blow to the Empire. But Commander Carter knew that this was only a fleeting victory. The Empire's response would be swift and brutal, and the stakes were higher than ever. Humanity had proven itself capable of striking back, but they would need more than just tactical brilliance to finish what had been started. We've got their attention, Carter said, standing at the command center, his eyes fixed on the flickering lights of the nearby star system. The remnants of the Empire's forces were slowly regrouping, their desperation mounting with each new strike from humanity. But the real fight is just beginning. Sophia, standing beside him, looked up from the tactical console. The Empire is preparing to launch their full counterattack. Their fleets are mobilizing in massive numbers. We need to be ready, Carter nodded. The time for small, calculated strikes was over. Humanity had already demonstrated that they could outmaneuver the Empire's forces. But now, they would need something more, something that would give them the edge they needed to truly turn the tide of the war. We're not ready to face their full strength, Carter muttered, his mind racing. But we might have a way to level the playing field. Sophia raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? Carter turned to face her, a fire igniting in his eyes. We've kept something hidden from them, something they could never have imagined. Deep within the bowels of the Genesis, the crew had been working on a secret project, one that had been kept under wraps for years. For humanity to stand a chance against the might of the Empire, they needed more than just a fleet of ships. They needed a weapon that could rival anything the Empire had ever created. This weapon was not merely a ship, it was a relic, an ancient warship unlike any other, lost to time and buried beneath the surface of Earth's history. It had been humanity's greatest secret, hidden for centuries. A last-ditch effort to ensure that they could defend their home should the need ever arise. The time had come to reveal it. The massive doors of the Genesis's hidden hangar slowly slid open, revealing the gargantuan warship that had been dormant for so long. Its surface gleamed with dark metallic armor, its sleek lines and advanced technology unlike anything the Empire had ever seen. The ship's systems began to power up, its energy reading soaring as it came to life. This is it, Carter whispered, his voice filled with awe as the ship's engines hummed with power. The final weapon, the one that will make the Empire truly understand what humanity is capable of. The ship's name, Elysium, glowed softly on its side as it slowly ascended from the hangar. Its massive size dwarfed even the Genesis, and its advanced weaponry could level entire fleets in seconds. But it wasn't just the firepower that made Elysium so dangerous, it was the ship's unique design, incorporating technology both human and alien, a fusion of the best of both worlds. As Elysium completed its final checks, Carter turned to Sophia. We're going to hit them where it hurts. This weapon isn't just about power. It's about giving the Empire something they can't fight. Elysium is our ace. Sophia nodded, a deep sense of determination in her eyes. We strike now. Before the Empire can mobilize their full force, we can't wait any longer. The Empire's forces were massing in orbit around their homeworld, preparing to launch their assault on the human fleet. General Kor stood at the helm of his flagship, watching as the human forces grew bolder with each passing day. He knew the end was coming, but what he didn't know was that Elysium was already en route, ready to deliver the devastating blow that would change everything. General, their fleet has increased in size, Captain Vera reported, her voice tense. They're preparing to strike again. Kor clenched his fists, frustration building. We must end this now, prepare for a full-scale offensive. We will crush them, this time. There will be no escape as the Empire's fleet began to launch its final offensive. Kor's eyes narrowed. He was ready to face the humans head-on, but he had no idea what was coming for him the moment Elysium dropped out of hyperspace. The galaxy felt the shift. The ship's massive form appeared like a shadow on the horizon of the Empire's fleet. Its energy signature alone was enough to send shockwaves through the Empire's ranks. The weapon humanity had kept hidden for centuries was now on full display, and its firepower was unlike anything the Empire had ever seen. The first shots were fired. The Empire's lead ships were obliterated in the blink of an eye, their massive shields shattering like glass under the concentrated barrage from Elysium's main cannon. The remaining Empire forces scrambled, trying to regroup and retaliate. But they were no match for the overwhelming might of Elysium. Kor's fleet, once thought to be the pinnacle of military power, was now in chaos. The human warships' lasers sliced through their lines, each shot landing with deadly precision. The Empire's retaliation was futile. Their defenses were no match for the devastating force of Elysium. What is that? Kor muttered, his face pale with disbelief. We've never seen anything like it. But even as he spoke, the reality began to settle in. The humans weren't just fighting to survive. They were fighting to lead. They had an unstoppable weapon. And the Empire was about to learn just how far humanity would go to reclaim their place in the galaxy. As Elysium continued to tear through the Empire's fleet, Carter stood at the command center of the Genesis, his heart racing with anticipation. The moment had arrived. The weapon was in play, and humanity was showing the galaxy that they were no longer the underdog. The Empire had underestimated them, and now it was time to pay the price. This is just the beginning, Carter said softly, his voice filled with quiet confidence. We've made our mark. Now we finish it. A reckoning the final showdown. Devastating power of Elysium had shattered the Empire's forces. But Commander Carter knew this victory, though significant, was not the end. The Genesis and its fleet had crippled the Empire's outer defenses. But they had yet to face the true heart of the Empire, their central command, and the remaining elite fleets. While the battle raged on across the galaxy, a deep, unsettling silence fell over the Empire's core. General Kor, consumed by rage and frustration, was no longer the confident commander who once felt invincible. He had witnessed humanity's power firsthand, and now, the full weight of that knowledge pressed down on him. The Empire's leadership had no choice but to take action, to bring everything they had in a last-ditch effort to quell this uprising. We end this now. Kor growled, his voice seething with anger. He was ready to make his final stand on the Empire's flagship. Ships were being prepared for an all-out assault. Kor's orders were clear. Humanity had to be destroyed once and for all. This time, he would not allow any more surprises. He would face them head-on with everything the Empire could muster. The remnants of their fleet, combined with reinforcements from the farthest reaches of the Empire, would converge on the Genesis and its fleet. Back on the Genesis, Carter stood at the front of the command room, watching the swirling, ever-changing starscape of space outside. His hands were clenched into fists, but his expression was calm. This was the moment he had been waiting for, the ultimate confrontation. No more running. No more hiding. Humanity had already proven itself. Now, it was time to finish what had been started. Commander, Sophia said, her voice steady but with an edge of uncertainty. The Empire is assembling its full fleet. They're coming for us. Carter turned to face her, a quiet confidence in his eyes. Let them come. We've already shown them what we can do. Now we show them what happens when you push humanity too far. Sophia nodded, understanding the gravity of their mission. This is it. There's no turning back. Carter stepped forward, his voice filling the room as he addressed the crew. This is not just about Earth. This is about the future of every world that has suffered under the Empire's rule. We've been oppressed, ignored, crushed, but no longer. We fight not for survival. This is our war for the future, and it starts now. The final confrontation was imminent. As the Genesis and its allies moved toward the heart of the Empire, the atmosphere on the command deck was tense but focused. Every crew member knew the importance of this moment. They were ready for the fight of their lives. The Empire's fleet was vast, its power unimaginable. The sheer number of ships moving toward them was enough to make anyone doubt the outcome. But Carter knew the truth. It wasn't the size of the fleet that mattered. It was the strength of the spirit that guided it. Humanity wasn't fighting with desperation anymore. They were fighting with conviction, with unity, and with the unwavering belief that they had a future to claim. As the first wave of Empire ships came into view, the Genesis's weapons powered up and the crew took their positions. It was time for the final stand. No more secrets, no more surprises. Just a full-on assault to prove once and for all that humanity was not to be underestimated. General Kor's flagship, now leading the Empire's massive fleet, loomed ominously in space. The forces under his command were formidable, but they were filled with doubt. The fleet had been devastated before, and now their enemy was stronger than ever. The Empire's once confident leaders knew that this final battle would decide the fate of the galaxy. "We can't afford another failure," Kor said to his commanders, his voice heavy with determination. "This is our last chance to end this rebellion. We destroy them here, or we perish trying." The two forces collided in a cataclysmic explosion of energy. Lasers streaked through the void, massive energy blasts shaking the very fabric of space. The Genesis and its fleet fought fiercely, dodging enemy fire while delivering blow after blow to the Empire's forces. Every ship that fell to the human weapons was a testament to the strength and resolve that humanity had found in its darkest hour. But even as the battle raged, Carter knew they had to do more. The Empire's command ships were still operational, still issuing orders. If they didn't take down the heart of the Empire, the fight would continue indefinitely. The only way to win was to destroy the leadership. "We're moving in," Carter said, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Target the flagship." Sophia adjusted the controls, her hands moving quickly as she aimed their weapons at Kor's command ship. Locking onto the target, "The flagship is vulnerable. We can end this now." As the fleet's energy cannons charged, the final, decisive moment arrived. The massive blast from the Genesis's main cannon tore through the Empire's flagship, sending it spiraling into the abyss. The Empire's leadership was lost in an instant, and with it, their hold over the galaxy began to crumble. The shockwaves from the blast echoed across the battlefield, sending ripples through the remaining Empire forces. Their once unified fleet splintered into chaos as the human alliance pushed forward, systematically dismantling what was left of their enemy's forces. General Kor's command ship, now a twisted wreck of debris, drifted silently in the vast expanse. The battle was over. The Empire had been defeated. Humanity had won. On the Genesis, Carter stood before the crew, his gaze steady as he took in the aftermath of the battle. "We've done it. The Empire is finished. The galaxy is ours to rebuild." Sophia turned to him, a weary but proud smile on her face. "The real fight is just beginning, but today, we've proven humanity is a force to be reckoned with." Carter nodded. "Today, we didn't just fight for Earth. We fought for every world that has suffered under the Empire's rule. And we won. Now, we rebuild, and we make sure this never happens again." As the surviving ships of humanity's alliance drifted through the stars, the galaxy was forever changed. The Empire had been overthrown, and a new era had begun. Humanity had reclaimed its place in the galaxy, and now they would lead not with vengeance, but with a vision of a better, united future. A new beginning. The rise of humanity's stars were different now. As the Genesis floated through the vast emptiness of space, the crew could feel the weight of what they had accomplished. The Empire, once the undisputed ruler of the galaxy, was no more. Its fleets had been scattered, its leaders defeated, and its iron grip over the galaxy had crumbled in the wake of humanity's relentless struggle. But as humanity stood victorious, Carter knew that the true challenge was just beginning. The Empire's destruction was only the first step. The galaxy had to be rebuilt, and that would require more than just military might. It would take unity, strength, and leadership. Humanity had taken its place among the stars, but now they had to prove they could lead a galaxy fractured by centuries of oppression. The crew gathered in the war room of the Genesis, their faces tired but filled with a quiet resolve. Carter stood at the front, looking at his team, knowing they had just turned the page on the galaxy's history. "We've done what we set out to do," Carter began, his voice steady but filled with purpose. "The Empire is no more, but we're not finished. We didn't just fight for Earth. We fought for every world that suffered under the Empire's rule. And now, it's time to rebuild. It's time to show the galaxy what humanity is capable of." Sophia stepped forward, her voice clear and confident. "We've made alliances with the outer systems, and now we need to lead. The galaxy is fractured, but humanity has the strength to unite it. We've proven we can stand against the greatest power in the universe. We just need to show them that we are capable of more than just fighting. We're capable of creating something better." Carter nodded, a determined smile tugging at the corner of his lips. "And we will. We're not just going to fight our way to victory. We're going to lead with compassion, with wisdom, and with strength. Humanity has always been resilient, but now, we'll prove that we can bring order and peace to the galaxy. We'll create a new future, one where the mistakes of the past are never repeated." The transition from war to peace wasn't an easy one. As the remnants of the Empire's former territories fell under humanity's control, Carter and his crew worked tirelessly to establish new governments, rebuild shattered worlds, and ensure that the horrors of the Empire's reign would never return. But not everyone was happy with this new order. Across the galaxy, There were whispers of resistance, those who had once thrived under the Empire's rule and feared the power shift that humanity's victory had caused. There were factions still loyal to the old regime, lurking in the shadows, waiting for a chance to rise again. We can't ignore the fact that there are still enemies out there, Sophia warned as she reviewed intelligence reports from across the galaxy. Some worlds are resisting our new leadership, and there are rumors of cells that want to restore the Empire. Carter's eyes darkened, but his resolve remained unshaken. Let them try. We've already proven what humanity is capable of. But we won't rule with fear. We will build the future we've fought for together back on Earth. The rebuilding process was slow but steady. Cities once destroyed by the Empire's reign of terror were beginning to rise from the ashes, and humanity's innovations in technology and governance were rapidly transforming the planet. Earth was no longer just a forgotten world, it was now the heart of a new galaxy, a shining beacon of hope and unity. The newly formed Galactic Council met for the first time in the Great Hall of the Genesis, with representatives from the formerly oppressed outer systems and newly freed planets coming together to form a government that would work for all. The old divisions of the Empire were gone, replaced by a cooperative council where every world had a voice. This is just the beginning, Carter said during his inaugural address to the council. We've seen what happens when a single power controls the galaxy, but we've also seen the strength that comes from unity. The Empire was built on fear and oppression. We will build our future on hope and collaboration. The council members, human and alien alike, nodded in agreement, their faces filled with a new sense of purpose. There was no turning back now. The galaxy was in their hands, and they would lead it into a new era, one where peace, justice, and cooperation were the foundation. But the echoes of the Empire's reign were not easily forgotten. Across the galaxy, there were still remnants of the old regime, loyalists, criminals, and power-hungry factions who would do anything to reclaim their lost influence. Their presence loomed like a shadow, ever present and ever dangerous. We've won the war, Carter said to Sophia one evening, his eyes looking out into the endless stars. But peace is never as simple as victory. It's a constant fight. Sophia nodded, her gaze steady. We've proven we can win battles. Now we'll prove we can maintain peace. As the council began its work of shaping the future, Carter and his crew continued to stand at the forefront of humanity's efforts. They had won the war, but their real mission had only just begun. The galaxy was theirs to shape, and with each new alliance formed, each world liberated, they proved that humanity's strength lay not just in their weapons, but in their will to create a better, fairer universe. And so, as the Genesis drifted into the stars, humanity's victory was not just the end of an era, it was the beginning of a new one. A new era where humans were not just survivors of the galaxy, but its leaders. They had been betrayed, but in the end, they had reclaimed everything, and they would make sure the galaxy never forgot the price of their freedom.